Welcome to another episode of What is Hashimoto's with Dr. Martin Rutherford. To find out more on any of our topics, or for information on scheduling a consultation with Dr. Rutherford, please visit us at whatishashimotos.com. And now, here's Dr. Rutherford.
Okay, topic of the day. Hashimoto's and gluten-free didn't help. So I have probably heard this hundreds of times. And the problem is that gluten is the number one trigger for autoimmune thyroid disease. In fact, it's not an allergen, it's not a sensitivity, okay? You can have a sensitivity or an allergen to it and have Hashimoto's, but it's something called molecular mimicry, where there's metabolites, okay? There's metabolites on the gluten protein that unfortunately look exactly like metabolites in your thyroid tissue. So once you've developed Hashimoto's and your immune system starts to attack your thyroid, you eat gluten, it's going to flare up an inflammatory response and create an attack on your thyroid every time you eat it. So it's got to go. So I have, and gluten's in everything, right? Gluten's in all the good stuff. I'm half Italian, all right? So gluten's in the pasta, gluten's in the pizza. I used to like to have a beer now and then, or more than now and then, and it's in the beer. It's in a lot of the alcohol. I mean, it's everywhere. It's in the sauces, gluten, it's everywhere. It's all good stuff, okay? It's in all the stuff we love. So I usually get, on a semi-regular basis, I get the person go, well, I already tried off gluten and it didn't do anything for me. Meaning, I'm not going to give up all the good stuff if I've got off of it. Now, here's the problem with that. The problem is Hashimoto's, okay? And so gluten's one of, now I think it's 41 triggers that we know of that are potentially also affecting your thyroid. So now you have maybe, and nobody's got all 41 triggers, but a lot of people have like 12, 13, 14 of them. So that's one trigger. So let's say you don't even know that the other 13 triggers are. And most of them don't. And some of them are mind-blowingly things that you do every day, or that you may ingest every day, or things of that nature. So when we first started this, and we had people, treating Hashimoto's and taking people off the gluten, and I was very early on in the groups that were taking people off of gluten for Hashimoto's, and you would get a miracle case, and you go like, yeah, we're bad. We know these guys, these medical doctors, they don't know anything. We're so cool because we took them off of gluten, they felt better. And then you get a couple of those, and life was good. And then you got the guy who took them off of gluten, or gal, and lady, and nothing happened. Or they felt worse, okay? Or the gluten made them feel worse, because gluten is not just a trigger for autoimmune thyroid disease, but it is a big, fat, trashy carb. So maybe it raised their insulin, maybe it caused their blood sugar to go up. And then their blood sugar, in turn, made them have blood sugar symptoms, and they felt worse. And then they said, well, no, I'm not gonna do that because it makes me feel worse. So there's a lot of nuances to it. The next step that we took was, we said, okay, if you are gluten sensitive, you probably have other cross reactivities. That was a while ago, and then we would start looking, and that was mostly grains, so we started taking people off of grains. But now we know there's 41 triggers that we know of. I have a presentation online that says 39. It's not a mistake. There's 2 more that's come up since we put that video online, and I think that was last year. So that's it. And so that's really the thing. You might be every day. You might be overdoing it. Maybe you're drinking alcohol. Maybe you have celiac and don't know it. Well, if you had celiac, that wouldn't happen, because if you got off of gluten, if you had celiac, you'd feel better immediately. So that was a bad example. But the point is, there's so many different things. A lot of people who are Hashimoto's should be off of shellfish. And so who doesn't eat shrimp, right? Like 80% of the country loves shrimp. So maybe you're eating, shrimp all the time, or maybe most of my patients are exposing them to, or expose themselves to at least 2 or 3 or 4 of these triggers every day. So that's really the reason. It's not, and so I tell them, okay, I know that you didn't feel any better off the gluten. I mean, off the gluten. And I know you felt worse, but here's the reasons why. And once we start, trust me, once we get you off of the gluten, we get you through the protocols, you're feeling better. You eat gluten later on, you're going to feel worse. And that's basically the thing. You just have to make sure that gluten's the number one. It's probably one of the 3 most aggressive triggers for immune responses on the thyroid, meaning there's 2 other aggressive ones too that people expose themselves quite a bit. And if you're doing all that together, you get off the gluten, there's a good chance that you're not going to feel any difference. But you should stay off the gluten until you find out what those other ones are.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of What is Hashimoto's? To find out more on any of our topics, or for information on scheduling a consultation with Dr. Rutherford, please visit us at whatishashimotos.com.